What if I told you that the secret to leveling up in life isn't about gaining more? It's about needing less. Imagine being able to face life's biggest challenges without being shaken, to navigate the chaos with a calm mind, and to turn every obstacle into an opportunity. Sounds almost too good to be true, right? But this isn't some unreachable philosophy. It's a way of living that has been around for over 2,000 years. The ancient Stoics mastered the art of resilience, focus, and clarity. And today, those same strategies can help you unlock a life of purpose and strength. In the next few minutes, we'll uncover 7 Stoic strategies that can transform how you handle challenges, manage stress, and rise above the noise. But here's the catch. These aren't just lessons to think about. They're actions to live by. So, if you're ready to take control of your mind and life, stick with me. And hey, if you find value here, make sure to hit that subscribe button because trust me, you won't want to miss the wisdom we're about to dive into. Embrace the obstacle as the way. What if I told you that the very thing holding you back right now, the challenge you're wrestling with, is the key to your next level of growth? It seems counterintuitive, right? Most of us think obstacles are barriers, roadblocks we need to smash through or avoid altogether. But what if instead of avoiding them, you could turn them into your path forward? This is the essence of one of the core Stoic principles. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way, as Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, put it. Think about it. Every time you face a challenge, whether it's in your career, relationships, or personal development, your first instinct might be frustration or avoidance. But imagine seeing these obstacles not as blocks, but as opportunities for growth. Imagine that each problem is actually a lesson in disguise, tailor-made to sharpen you in ways success never could. This isn't about positive thinking or blind optimism. This is about reframing your mind to see obstacles as the necessary stepping stones toward where you need to be. Take a moment to reflect on some of the toughest moments in your life. Were they not the times when you learned the most, grew the most, or developed the most resilience? In fact, it's usually in moments of adversity that we realize what we're truly capable of. The ancient Stoics knew this. They saw each challenge not as something to be feared, but as something to be embraced. They recognized that the hardships we face are precisely what prepares us for greatness. The key, however, is in how we choose to respond. Now, here's where the trick comes in. Most people think that overcoming an obstacle means waiting for it to move or disappear. But the Stoic perspective is far more powerful. You don't wait for the obstacle to change. You change your approach to it. Instead of looking for a way around the problem, you shift your mindset and ask yourself, how can I use this to my advantage? This shift in thinking turns you into a proactive force, rather than a reactive victim of circumstance. The beauty of this mindset is that it applies to every aspect of life. Imagine facing a career setback, not as a sign that you're not good enough, but as a chance to learn a skill or develop a strength you didn't even know you had. Or perhaps you're dealing with a difficult relationship. Rather than seeing it as an emotional drain, ask yourself what this challenge is teaching you about patience, communication, or boundaries. Suddenly, that obstacle is no longer something to dread, but an opportunity for growth, an essential part of your journey. The Stoics weren't immune to the difficulties of life. They faced wars, political upheaval, personal betrayals, and tragedies. Yet they flourished by adopting this powerful principle. What stands in the way is the way. Your setbacks, your failures, your pain, they all serve a purpose if you let them. The path to leveling up in life doesn't lie in a world free of obstacles, but in how you embrace and use them to fuel your progress. So here's the tricky part. Can you start to see your current challenges differently? The moment you begin to see the obstacle as the way forward, you'll notice a shift in how you approach problems. Suddenly, obstacles won't seem so daunting. They'll feel like the training ground for your next breakthrough. Control what you can, let go of what you can't. What if the key to a peaceful and powerful life was hidden in one simple truth? Most of the things we worry about are beyond our control. This idea seems almost too simple, right? Yet it's one of the most challenging lessons to internalize. The Stoics, especially Epictetus, knew this well. He said, "Some things are up to us and some things are not." But here's the tricky part. Learning to distinguish between the two, and more importantly, learning to let go of the things you can't control. Most of us spend a significant portion of our lives stressing over things that we have no power over. Other people's opinions, the outcome of our efforts, or the future, which remains uncertain no matter how much we try to predict it. We try to control the uncontrollable, and in doing so, we create unnecessary suffering for ourselves. But what if you could break free from this cycle? Imagine the mental clarity and freedom you'd experience if you stopped trying to manage the things that aren't in your hands and instead focused entirely on what is. Here's the trick. Control isn't about manipulation or dominance. Real control is about recognizing where your influence begins and where it ends. Think about it. You can't control how other people react to you, but you can control your actions and how you present yourself. You can't control the circumstances that life throws at you, but you can control your response to them. By focusing on what is within your power, your mindset, your choices, your effort, you reclaim a sense of agency over your life, and that's where true power lies. This lesson ties directly into how we handle stress and anxiety. When we obsess over outcomes or worry about things that haven't even happened, we place an immense burden on ourselves. But here's where the Stoic wisdom comes into play. What would happen if you surrendered your need to control these outcomes? If you simply focused on doing your best with what's in front of you right now, trusting that whatever happens next is beyond your influence. That shift in mindset removes the weight of unnecessary stress and allows you to operate from a place of calm and confidence. Let's apply this to everyday life. Say you're working on a big project and you're consumed with thoughts about how your boss will react or whether it will be successful. The truth is, those things are beyond your control. All you can control is the quality of your work, your focus, and your effort. When you put your energy into what you can control, you free yourself from the anxiety of wondering what comes next. The outcome will be whatever it is, but you'll have the satisfaction of knowing you did everything within your power to the best of your ability. This doesn't mean giving up on ambition or hope. It means focusing on the process rather than the result. By doing so, you actually increase your chances of success because you're not weighed down by fear or worry. You're fully present, fully engaged in what you're doing, and that's when you're at your most effective. The tricky part here is applying this lesson consistently. It's easy to let go of control in theory, but when life throws unexpected challenges your way, it takes conscious effort to remember that you can only control your response. Every time you feel yourself getting overwhelmed by the uncontrollable, take a step back and ask yourself, what can I control in this moment? Focus on that and let the rest go. The moment you make this shift, you'll notice a profound sense of calm and power emerge, one that can only come from focusing on what's truly within your grasp. The power of perception. How changing your perspective changes everything. What if the reality you're living isn't as fixed as you think? It's a tricky concept to wrap your head around, but the Stoics understood something that many of us overlook. The way we see the world shapes our experience of it. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." The situations we face, whether positive or negative, aren't inherently good or bad. It's how we interpret them that defines their impact on us. Imagine for a moment that you could change your reality just by shifting your perspective. Here's the trick. It's not about pretending that challenges don't exist or trying to see everything through rose-colored glasses. It's about recognizing that while we can't always control what happens to us, we can always control how we interpret and react to those events. The Stoics mastered this principle, using it to navigate everything from personal losses to political betrayals, without losing their sense of purpose or calm. They understood that external events are just that, external. What matters most is the meaning we assign to them. Take a moment to think about the last time something didn't go your way. Maybe it was a failed project, a relationship that didn't work out, or a sudden obstacle in your career. Your initial reaction might have been frustration, anger, or even defeat. But what if, instead of viewing that event as something that set you back, you chose to see it as an opportunity for growth or a redirection towards something better? That shift in perception doesn't change the event itself, but it dramatically alters its impact on you. Suddenly, what was once a failure becomes a stepping stone, and what was once a setback becomes a new beginning. The Stoics had a concept called prohairesis, which refers to the ability to choose how you respond to situations. This is where the real power of perception lies. By choosing how you frame your experiences, you reclaim control over your life. You stop being at the mercy of external events and start shaping your own reality. This isn't about ignoring reality. It's about mastering your mind's ability to interpret it in a way that serves you rather than harms you. Here's where it gets even trickier. This shift in perception requires constant practice. It's easy to feel positive and empowered when things are going well, but the real test comes when life throws challenges your way. Can you still find the lesson in a difficult situation? Can you train your mind to see adversity as a teacher rather than a foe? It's a muscle you have to build over time, but once you do, you become virtually unshakable. Let's look at a real-life example. Imagine losing your job unexpectedly. At first, it might seem like a devastating blow. But what if, instead of spiraling into fear and self-doubt, you reframed the situation as an opportunity to pivot toward something better? Maybe this is your chance to start that business you've always dreamed of or pursue a career path that truly excites you. By changing the way you see the situation, you open doors that might otherwise have remained shut. The Stoics weren't immune to suffering, but they mastered the art of turning suffering into strength. They knew that life's challenges don't define you. Your perception of them does. The moment you shift your perspective is the moment you begin to transform your reality. It's a subtle but powerful trick that, once understood, can completely change how you navigate the world. So, the next time you face a difficult situation, ask yourself, how can I see this differently? What opportunity is hidden in this challenge? In that moment of reflection, you'll find that the power to change your life has been in your perception all along. The impermanence of life, how embracing mortality fuels purpose. What if I told you that the most powerful way to live a full life is to constantly remember that it will one day end? It sounds like a paradox, doesn't it? After all, why would thinking about death make us more alive? Yet this is exactly the Stoic principle of memento mori, remembering that you will die, that has been a guiding light for some of the most resilient and purpose-driven people in history. At first glance, it seems like a morbid thought, but here's the tricky part. When you face your mortality head-on, something profound happens. You begin to see time as precious. Every moment becomes more meaningful. You realize that life isn't just something that happens to you. It's something you can choose to live fully. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, once wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This idea is not meant to inspire fear, but to ignite urgency. When you understand that your time is limited, The trivial worries that usually occupy your mind fall away. Suddenly, what people think of you, or whether you'll succeed at something, pales in comparison to the bigger picture. What are you doing with the time you have? This shift in perspective makes life richer, deeper, and far more intentional. Here's the tricky brilliance of this lesson. Instead of letting the thought of death paralyze you, you can let it liberate you. Most of us live as if we have endless time, delaying the things that truly matter, whether it's pursuing a dream, mending a relationship, or simply living more authentically. We get caught up in distractions, putting off important decisions for tomorrow. But what if tomorrow never comes? The moment you truly grasp the finite nature of your life is the moment you realize that you have no time to waste. Think about this. If you knew that today was your last day, how would you live? Would you spend it complaining about small inconveniences, or would you focus on what truly brings you joy, connection, and fulfillment? This isn't just a hypothetical exercise. It's a challenge the Stoics issued to themselves daily. They believed that by remembering their mortality, they could make better decisions, live with greater purpose, and cultivate deeper gratitude for the life they had. What's more, this awareness of impermanence frees you from the fear of failure. If life is fleeting, then why waste time being afraid? Every failure becomes a lesson, every setback an opportunity to grow. You stop worrying so much about the outcome and start focusing on living with intention in the present moment. After all, what do you have to lose when you know that everything is temporary? The tricky part is maintaining this mindset, especially in the modern world where distractions are endless and we're constantly bombarded with messages that encourage us to chase superficial goals. But here's where memento mori becomes your secret weapon. When you remind yourself daily that life is short, you naturally begin to prioritize the things that matter. You focus on what brings true fulfillment rather than short-term gratification. You let go of petty grudges, stop wasting time on things that don't align with your values, and begin living with clarity and purpose. In practice, this might look like taking that leap of faith you've been putting off, or it might be something as simple as being more present with the people you love. The key is to live each day with the awareness that it could be your last, not in a fearful way, but in a way that fuels your drive to make the most of every second. When you do this, you're no longer living passively. You're fully engaged in the art of living, and that is what makes life truly worth living. So, ask yourself, how would your life change if you embraced the impermanence of it? What would you do differently? When you face this tricky yet powerful lesson head-on, you'll realize that the awareness of death doesn't make life darker. It makes it more vibrant. It's not about fearing the end. It's about making sure you live fully before it arrives. 5. The art of saying no. Why boundaries create freedom. What if the most powerful thing you could do to level up your life was to simply say no more often? It might sound too simple. After all, isn't success about saying yes to opportunities, to people, to experiences? But here's the trick. In a world that constantly demands your time, energy, and attention, the ability to say no is one of the most powerful forms of self-mastery you can cultivate. The ancient Stoics understood this deeply. By learning when to say no, you're actually carving out space for what truly matters, protecting your most valuable resources, time and mental energy. At first glance, this idea seems counterintuitive. We're often told that saying yes opens doors, that it leads to success. But the more you say yes to things that don't align with your core values, the more you dilute your focus. You end up spread too thin, chasing other people's goals instead of your own. The Stoics believed in living with purpose and clarity, which means being ruthless in guarding your time and attention. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." This speaks to the heart of the Stoic mindset. If something doesn't serve your higher purpose, why give it your energy? Here's the tricky part. Saying no is hard. It can feel uncomfortable, especially when you don't want to disappoint others or miss out on opportunities. But the Stoics remind us that every yes you give away is a no to something else, often something that might be more important in the long run. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with your values or goals, you're sacrificing the time and energy you could have used to focus on what truly matters to you. By saying no more often, you're not shutting doors. You're freeing yourself to fully engage with the opportunities that are truly right for you. Think about how often we fill our days with distractions, meetings, and commitments that don't serve us. We end up exhausted, frustrated, and wondering where our time went. The Stoics knew that time was the most precious resource, and that once it's spent, it can never be regained. Seneca, another great Stoic thinker, wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." This is where the power of saying no comes in. By setting clear boundaries and being intentional with your time, you create the freedom to focus on the things that matter most to you. Here's where the tricky part comes into play. It's not just about learning to say no to others. It's about learning to say no to yourself. The distractions, the habits, the temptations that pull you away from your goals. By practicing self-discipline and resisting the urge to engage in things that don't serve your higher purpose, you gain more control over your life. You stop being reactive, constantly pulled in different directions, and start becoming more intentional with how you spend your time. This lesson also applies to relationships. The people in your life who drain your energy, who demand too much without giving anything in return, sometimes saying no to them is the best way to protect your peace and well-being. It doesn't mean you're cutting people off out of cruelty. It means you're valuing yourself enough to protect your energy and focus. In the long run, the people who truly respect and care for you will understand and appreciate your boundaries. So, how does this lesson apply to your life right now? Where are you saying yes when you should be saying no? What would change if you started setting firmer boundaries with your time and energy? The tricky beauty of this lesson is that once you learn to say no with intention, you'll find that you have more time, more focus, and more energy to pursue the things that truly matter to you. It's a small word, but it holds the key to unlocking freedom in your life. It's a tricky idea, especially in a world that celebrates control, ambition, and striving for success. Yet, the Stoics mastered a profound lesson. True control doesn't come from obsessing over results, but from focusing on the process and letting go of the outcome. The ancient Stoic philosopher Epictetus famously said, "Some things are up to us, and some things are not." And herein lies the paradox. The more we try to control outcomes, things beyond our influence, the more we lose control over our inner peace and clarity. At first glance, this concept might seem counterproductive. How can letting go give you more control? Shouldn't success be about focusing on results, aiming for achievements, and doing everything you can to ensure victory? But here's the trick. The Stoics weren't against ambition or success. In fact, they pursued excellence in everything they did. The secret lies in where they place their attention, not on the uncontrollable future, but on the present moment, the actions they could take right now. Think of it this way. If you fixate on the outcome, whether it's a job promotion, a relationship, or a personal goal, you put immense pressure on yourself. You start to measure your worth based on things that may or may not happen, and when things don't go as planned, it feels like failure. But the truth is, you never had full control over those results in the first place. External factors, other people's decisions, and random circumstances can all affect the outcome. So why invest your mental energy in trying to control something so unpredictable? The Stoic approach is different. Rather than fixating on the outcome, they teach us to focus on what we can control: our effort, our mindset, and our actions. By detaching from the results and focusing on the process, you free yourself from the anxiety that comes with uncertainty. You become more grounded in the present moment, where you can actually make an impact. And here's the paradox. When you let go of the outcome, you often perform better because you're not weighed down by fear or pressure. You're fully immersed in the task at hand, which increases your chances of success. This lesson applies to every aspect of life. In relationships, we often become obsessed with how the other person feels about us, whether the relationship will last, or what the future holds. But we can't control someone else's emotions or the future. What we can control is how we show up, our kindness, our honesty, our love. By focusing on what we can give, rather than what we might receive, we not only reduce anxiety, but create a healthier dynamic. In your career, you may be striving for a certain level of success or recognition. But instead of fixating on whether you'll get that promotion or hit that goal, focus on the work itself. Are you giving it your best effort? Are you learning and growing in the process? By detaching from the outcome, you release yourself from the burden of expectation and free up your mind to perform at its best. The outcome, whether positive or negative, becomes less important because you've already succeeded in doing what's within your control. The tricky beauty of this lesson is that detaching from outcomes doesn't mean giving up on your goals or ambitions. It means shifting your focus from what's out of your hands to what's within your power. And when you do this, you often find that you achieve more, not less. You're no longer paralyzed by fear of failure or consumed by the desire for success. You're simply present, doing your best in each moment, and trusting that whatever happens next is beyond your control, and that's perfectly okay. So ask yourself, where in your life are you holding on too tightly to an outcome? What would change if you focused solely on the process and let go of the results? Once you internalize this lesson, you'll find a profound sense of freedom. The world may still be unpredictable, but you'll be unshakable, grounded in what you can control, and in that groundedness, you'll find a new level of power that comes not from controlling everything, but from mastering yourself. The power of silence. Why saying less gives you more influence? What if the most powerful way to make an impact was not in what you say, but in what you don't say? In a world that encourages constant communication, sharing, and expressing opinions, the idea that silence could be more powerful than words seems counterintuitive, almost tricky. But the Stoics knew that silence holds a unique power, one that allows you to observe, understand, and ultimately influence more effectively than speaking ever could. As Epictetus taught, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. This isn't just about staying quiet. It's about mastering the art of restraint, timing, and listening. Here's the trick. Silence is not about passivity or weakness. It's about holding space, assessing the situation, and choosing when and how to respond with intention. Think about it. How often do we feel the need to fill every gap in conversation with words, to prove ourselves, or to win an argument? But in doing so, we often reveal too much or miss opportunities to truly understand the situation. The Stoics believed that silence allows us to cultivate wisdom because it gives us the space to reflect before reacting. And in that space, you gain control over your words and actions, making them more impactful when you do choose to speak. Take, for example, a heated argument. Our instinct might be to respond quickly, to defend ourselves, or to prove the other person wrong. But what if, instead of reacting, you chose silence? You allowed the other person's words to settle, and in the process, you gave yourself the time to think. Silence in these moments shifts the power dynamic. Suddenly, the other person is left to wonder what you're thinking, why you're not reacting. This creates an aura of calm confidence, making your eventual words carry far more weight. In moments of silence, you show that you are in control, not of the other person, but of yourself. The trickiness of silence lies in the fact that it's often misunderstood. People might interpret silence as indifference, weakness, or lack of knowledge. But here's where the ancient wisdom comes into play. When you master silence, you wield it as a tool, not as a retreat. You choose when to engage and when to hold back, allowing your silence to communicate as much, if not more, than words ever could. This strategic use of silence is what gives you influence, because it shows that you are not easily swayed or provoked, that you think before you speak, and that you're not afraid of letting others fill the space with their own assumptions. In relationships, silence can be a form of strength. When faced with conflict or tension, choosing to pause rather than react immediately can prevent unnecessary escalation. It gives you time to reflect on what really matters, to understand the other person's perspective, and to formulate a response that aligns with your values. Silence can also create curiosity. In a world where most people overshare, your ability to say less makes you intriguing. People will naturally wonder what you're thinking, why you're not rushing to explain yourself, and that curiosity works in your favor. But here's the tricky part. Silence is not the same as avoidance. It's not about withdrawing from the world or ignoring important conversations. It's about discerning when words are necessary and when they're not. The Stoics understood that not every situation requires your input, and not every battle is worth fighting. Silence allows you to pick your battles wisely, to conserve your energy for the moments that truly matter. So, how can you apply this in your daily life? The next time you're tempted to speak quickly, whether in a meeting, a conversation, or an argument, pause. Take a breath and ask yourself, is this the right moment to speak, or would silence serve me better? Can I listen more, understand more, and then respond with greater clarity and impact? The power of silence lies in its ability to give you time, control, and influence. And when you master it, you'll find that saying less often gives you far more than you ever expected. Remember the question we started with, is someone taking advantage of you without your consent? Now perhaps you find yourself standing at a different kind of edge, not one of manipulation or helplessness, but on the verge of transformation. You've seen that the real power is not in fighting against others, but in reclaiming your control from within. The ability to change your life is now in your hands. The world won't shift until you do. So the question remains, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you take the insights shared today and move forward in strength, or will you let this moment slip away? The first step is always the hardest, but even the smallest step today can lead to monumental change tomorrow. As you prepare to close this video, I leave you with a thought that lingers. What kind of life are you building for yourself? More importantly, is it truly the life you want, or the one others have shaped for you? You've seen the tools, the path, but the real question remains, are you brave enough to walk it? Mastering the mind isn't just an intellectual pursuit, it's the key to true freedom. It's not about external successes or failures, but about how you perceive them, how you use them to fuel your growth. So, what masterpiece are you ready to carve out from your own life? Just like the sculptor chiseling away at stone to reveal a hidden form, you hold the chisel to your own destiny. The power to shape your future lies within your hands, and every decision you make, every challenge you face, can help reveal that masterpiece. Are you ready to begin? Imagine a life where every obstacle becomes an opportunity, where fear is transformed into fuel for greatness, and where you stand as the master of your fate. That life is not something that happens by chance, it's something you can create. The only question is, what kind of future will you build with this newfound power? This is not the end of your journey, only the beginning. Keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep striving for mastery in every aspect of your life. You've taken the first step today, but the path ahead is long, full of discovery, challenges, and growth. Continue walking it with courage, curiosity, and unshakable conviction. Now, before you go, take a moment to reflect. What has this journey revealed about your own life? What are you ready to change? And perhaps most importantly, what will you do with that knowledge? Leave a comment with your thoughts, or maybe even a question that has no easy answer. Sometimes, the toughest questions lead us to the greatest insights. And if this resonated with you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more insights. The journey continues, and trust me, you won't want to miss what comes next.